entire NBA is taking its most talented talents to Cleveland this weekend. That is where all the All-Star festivities will be going down. And we have two of our best here to talk about it. Garion, Thorne, the NBA analyst we need. Geoff, Ulrich, the NBA analyst we deserve. Who are you looking at for the Rising Stars MVP, Geoff? I really need to know what you think.
I'm going to go with Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. Look, I mean, this is a player who he's playing with the Pistons, and he's actually had a very big impact on that team. They're pretty much don't win games when Cade Cunningham is out of the lineup. For DFS, if you've been playing him, you know that Cunningham will show up with some big games every now and then. So I think he's a little bit more talented and just a little bit more under the radar than people realize. And I think that Cunningham's a player who, obviously getting out of Detroit for a few days is probably like a good thing. And now he's coming to a national spotlight where he can put on a performance and show up. I think it's a great upside spot for a player who probably has had his upside in DFS just, sort of tapped down by the Pistons being the Pistons. So I'm going to say take a shot with Cade Cunningham in this game. I like Tyrese Halliburton as well, but I'm going to go with Cunningham just because I think he's a little bit under the radar.
Love it. Cade Cunningham of Team Barry. Garion, there are 28 players in this thing. There are 4 teams. It's like this tournament format. Who do you think has a good shot at MVP?
Yeah, if I had to really figure out who I thought was the odds-on favorite or a good betting strategy, I would kind of look at either Cade Cunningham or LaMelo Ball. And one of the big reasons for those two specific players is just they're going to play each other in the first round. So one of those two guys is getting to play in that second 25-point championship game, because that's really the most difficult aspect of this is who's winning the Rising Stars weird with G League players tournament. So it's really a crapshoot, but I think the archetype of player you're looking for is someone like a Cunningham, someone like a LaMelo, someone who's going to have the ball in their hands, who can operate in transition because these games are all transition, and just who's going to do something cool. I mean, LaMelo Ball might be the coolest player in the NBA in terms of how he can even pass the ball is impressive. So I think, Cade, LaMelo, maybe even someone like Jalen Green, although we'll get to his NBA championship in a second, but someone who's just toiled in mediocrity all season long. He's going to want a chance to show people he's actually pretty good at basketball.
All right, Gary, what do you think about the 3-point contest? Because unlike last year, this year, I feel like it lacks a front runner and really a fan favorite. It's going to be tough to stop or to top rather, what Steph Curry did last year, kind of proving once again he's just the best shooter of all time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really interesting field, and it's reflected in the odds. I mean, they're so tight aside from karl-Anthony Towns. And I don't really think that's a reflection on Towns. It's more just it's kind of hard for someone who maybe isn't, the most agile guy in the world, doesn't have the quickest release. These contests don't necessarily, bend to his strengths. So that's why he's so far down this list. But it is kind of hard to ignore Luke Kennard. I mean, this is a guy who's shooting 44.8% from three-point range this season. That's the second best qualified mark in the league. And the guy he's trailing is PJ Tucker. And just for kind of, some insight into how different those two numbers actually are, Kennard has only taken 14% of his three-pointers this season from the corner, the easiest three-point shot in the NBA. PJ Tucker is shooting 45% from three. And again, leads the NBA in percentage. 89% of his three-pointers have come from the corner. So I think you're looking for someone who can really thrive from all areas of the court, specifically those wing threes. Those are the ones that really make or break the three-point competition. So I think Kennard, even as the favorite, is pretty enticing. And I would also say that Desmond Bane at plus 600. I mean, just someone who's been really good all season long, can shoot it from anywhere on the court. I think those two guys are where I'm leaning tonight, or on Saturday.
Okay, so Geoff, karl-Anthony Towns here, longest odds to win the 3-point contest. Can you tell me, please, he could serve as the poster child here for big men kind of adapting to this modern game.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Nice try, though.
I thought you were an expert.
I
Sorry.
don't know. Karl-Anthony Towns, I guess he can chuck it out there. I don't know. If you want to take a shot. I don't know. I think they just put Karl-Anthony Towns in this event just to have – it's like when they put, they bring the short guy in for the slam dunk. It's just like, oh, yeah, look at this guy. It's so cute. The big guy can shoot the three. No, I think Gary mentioned it's tight at the top. You could probably make a case for all these guys. I'm going to go with Desmond Bane as well. It doesn't quite have the shooting percentage that Luke Kennard does, but I mean, all these guys are kind of within 2%, or a lot of these guys are. You got Patty Mills around the same. Desmond Bane, he doesn't get as much heat up in Memphis. Most people probably don't even know who Desmond Bane is. I think he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's got a really nice stroke from what I watched on YouTube last night, Emerson. And look, I mean, if you watch the Dark Knight trilogy, I think Bane is still the most underrated villain of that movie, of those three movies. So all things considered, he's eighth in the odds. It's still plus 600. Yeah, take a shot with Bane.
Like when you bring in Nate Robinson, right, for the slam dunk contest, although he knows how to win it, or like producer Drew just said in my ear, it's like when we bring in Geoff Ulrich to talk NBA and NASCAR. Hey, speaking of the slam dunk winner, come on, Ulrich, who do you like?
Okay, I actually have a good theory for this. So I think it's going to be Jalen Green. Now I've watched all the dunk tapes of these guys last night in heavy detail. I'm not super impressed. I think Jalen Green, though, has the most quote unquote hops. And I think, just from a pure creativity standpoint, he's going to bring the coolest stuff. He's the dude who's he gets to the lane clean. He makes the extra move. These other guys are just straight up, they're thunder dunkers, is what we call them. I don't like it. Like, I think Jalen Green is the move here. Honestly, I mean, I think that the odds on these guys probably will be pretty tight if we even have odds up. I don't know, but I'm going with Jalen Green. I'm going to make Jalen Green my pick. I like what I saw. I don't know. Maybe Garion has a better take. Probably not.
Garion, do you have a better take than this, man? Last year's dunk contest deserves a mulligan, right? No fans in the arena. It was like 3 guys, halftime of the All-Star game.
Yeah, it was arguably the worst one.
It was terrible.
It's a list that's growing. The underwhelming dunk contest in the last 20 years. That being said, I will give a quick note that the experience of being in a dunk contest probably helps Obi Toppin. Like, he has some sort of idea what's going to happen on Saturday. I think that can't go understated, but at the same time, this is Jalen Green's to lose. Jalen Green is the best dunker of these 4 guys easily. I mean, as Geoff said, he has the best quote unquote hops. And I think the thing with Green, as I was kind of talking about on the first question, is this is like his NBA championship on Saturday. I mean, think about how his season has gone so far. He has not shot the ball well. He is on arguably the worst team in the NBA. No one's calling him like a bust or anything, but everyone else around him, Cade Cunningham is thriving. Evan Mobley is thriving. Scotty Barnes is thriving. He needs to kind of prove that he's still worthy of being the number 2 pick in the draft. And while no one's really going to be like, oh, that pick was worth it, he won the slam dunk competition, I think this is the way to get his name back in the good graces of basketball nerds. So I think Jalen Green's going to take this really seriously.
Look, Gary agreeing with my basketball take. This might be like the pinnacle of my DK Sweat career, so I would like this segment saved and sent to me after. Okay,
that sounds good. We can definitely do that. Howie can help you out, but Green's got the flair. He's got the athleticism. Toppin looked good, though, last year, Garion. I'm reminded here, but couple between the leg dunks, had the windmill. Remember, he jumped over his father and Julius Randle.
Yeah, no, again, like I'd love to see the odds, and I'm sure DKSB will have them up pretty soon. So if Toppin's like got the 3rd or 4th best odds, I think he's a pretty good bet, because I think Jalen Green is going to be the favorite. He deserves to be the favorite.
All right, so where are you going for DFS captain for the All-Star game on Sunday night, Garion?
Okay, so I feel pretty strongly about this one, and it's Darius Garland. Darius Garland is by far the best captain in this game, because from a lineup building perspective, he has the 3rd lowest salary of any player in the All-Star game, despite the fact that, 1, this game is taking place in Cleveland. That matters. It matters to be the All-Star representative for the team that is actually, or in the city that you are actually playing the game in. I know that Jared Allen ended up making this team as like the 70th injury replacement. He's not going to play a ton of minutes. It's Darius Garland who's going to be out there for big stretches. And you go back to the Kevin Durant, LeBron James All-Star draft. Darius Garland was the 4th reserve off the board. Kevin Durant had a visceral negative reaction when LeBron took him. They both wanted this guy on their team because that narrative matters. I think these guys like Darius Garland. I think Darius Garland, just because he is the Cleveland guy, is going to get to play a bunch of minutes in this game. So his price point is way off. I mean, obviously you can take one of the big guys, slot them into captain, and use Garland as a value pick. But if you use Garland in the captain spot, I mean, your lineup flexibility is endless at that point.
Oh, man, I love that strategy. Geoff, do you have something as intelligent as that?
Yeah, totally. So if you're looking at the rosters, and look, I think that like Garion kind of just blew my mind, so I'm still recovering because I barely even knew Darius Garland was in this event. But if you're looking at the rosters, like it seems out of whack. I mean, like the KD lineup has much more opportunity, I think, for the handlers and to just have a big game, because you look at LeBron roster, they're stacked. Curry, James, Antetokounmpo, all these guys are going to be wanting the ball. Like, and it's kind of just one of those scenarios where once the guy gets the ball, he's just going to the hoop. I think Trae Young on Team KD has a very good chance to just be the primary ball handler for that. And there's no defense being played in this. So once he's got the ball, Trae Young is just going to the hoop. And we all know Trae Young doesn't play defense anyways, right, Garion? So it's not like he's going to be wasting himself on that side of the floor anyway. So I think you look at Team KD for your captain for the simple fact that the Team LeBron is just too stacked with ball handlers, with guys who are going to be sharing the load. I think a guy like either Trae Young or John Morant, as I'll throw it as a secondary pick, are going to really show up with just a monster game here just because of the way the rosters are set out.
All right. Here we go, dudes. Give me which team has the edge to pull out the victory, Geoff.
I mean, it's got to be Team LeBron, doesn't it? Like,
yeah.
I'm just looking through these rosters again. Like, their top three players are Curry, Giannis, and LeBron. I mean, like, we go down to Team KD, and they're throwing out Embiid and Trae Young and like Tatum. I mean, sorry, Boston fans. And then on the other side of that, they are the ones who got the hometown guy in Garland, like Garion throw it out. So they're gonna have the dude who like really actually wants to win, the one guy in this game who wants to win on their team. Now, I think you go with Team LeBron. It's the easy answer, but straightforward. But don't overthink this one.
Well,
just take Team LeBron.
I mean, he's back in Cleveland, and you're onto something here. Like, we know everything he's done in his career, but Gary and his track record, like All-Star Weekend, probably shouldn't be overlooked either. 4-0 as a captain since this format started.
Yeah, he takes this seriously.
Yeah.
And I think, narratives are really all we have when it comes to these kind of games. And it's been a rough year for LeBron. I mean, the Lakers are bad. Let's just be frank. And I think for LeBron, this game is important. And the fact that, we talked about in the last question that Darius Garland is Cleveland's all-star. Yes, because he plays for Cleveland. But Cleveland's all-star is LeBron James. Like, this game is in Cleveland. We can't really overstate how important LeBron is going to make this. And, he just doesn't lose all-star games. And I think for as much as, like, it doesn't really matter who's playing and who's not playing. I mean, you could look at Team LeBron and go, well, Jimmy Butler never cares about all-star games. That's like a wasted roster spot. Maybe Chris Paul isn't at 100% after injuring his thumb a couple nights ago. That's tough. But like Kevin Durant isn't even playing for Team Kevin Durant. That's kind of bad news for Team Kevin Durant. So I'm just going to go with Team LeBron.
All right, guys, quick here for your favorite player for MVP. Are you sticking with your captain, Garion?
No.
Okay.
I will say Garland's going to have a great game, but he's not going to win MVP because LeBron is going to win MVP. For every reason I just laid out, he wants to win MVP in the All-Star game in Cleveland.
Yeah.
He wants to be like, hey, I'm still good. It's not the Lakers. It's Russ's fault, not mine. So LeBron's going to win MVP.
And he could join Kobe Bryant and collect 4 All-Star game MVPs, Geoff.
I can see that happening. I'm going to go with Luka Doncic, though. I just feel like the veterans up top will kind of on Team LeBron. We'll let Luka just have the spotlight. Again, it's kind of more of a young person's game. Luka will probably be out there going nuts like he always does. What a deep roster. I mean, we at last segment until we mentioned Luka was even on Team LeBron. So I'm going to go with him as MVP.